Good morning everybody, and welcome to the Boxing Day edition of Safari Live here on the western fringes of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. 8 million acres of magnificent wilderness wonderland, and we're sitting on the western fringes, like I say, on Djuma, and Arathusa is off to the western side. There's the full moon that is about to set as the dawn breaks. Just over there, 3 Giraffe, who we were watching yesterday. My name is James Henry. On camera is Tebs. Hello, Tebs. Give us a thumb, Tebs. Come on. There we go. There's Tebs' thumb. Still flying solo in the final control is Louise Pavid, and on the other vehicle, the inimitable Brent Leo Smith, being filmed by drone commander Andrew Francis. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning. The sun is about to peep up behind this gardenia tree that the giraffe are eating. Roughly 20, I think it's about 23 degrees Celsius, which must put us at roughly 72 degrees Fahrenheit. I've kind of forgotten what I was supposed to say with regard to the weather. Anyway, you know, it is very early in the morning, and you're most welcome. Sorry, 23 and 67, I knew I was close. And we are live, as you can hear, and please do talk to us. Hashtag Safari Live if you want to tweet, like the black-headed oriole that's tweeting above us, and questions at wildearth.tv if you want to talk to us on the email. We're going to sit here for a little bit longer with these giraffe, and eventually when the sun peeps up, we'll head off towards the hyena den. I think Brent Leo Smith is going to see if he can follow up on Karula, who was seen yesterday, of course, with a steenbok kill. And Brent reckoned that that steenbok kill was untouched, and that's because she's probably been supping on small impala. And the story with these giraffe is quite interesting. Yesterday evening, Andrew and I found them on round about here, probably no more than 50 meters from where we're standing now. And the male was definitely showing some interest in the very attractive sort of redhead version of the giraffe that is behind this gardenia tree. I'll move just now to show her to you. And she's walking around with her calf. She also seemed to indicate that she was an estrus by almost sort of, when he approached her, she urinated almost on his feet. And that would indicate that she might be an estrus. And he certainly was showing a lot of interest. And there's no other reason for a male to hang around a female like this, and as she is about to come into estrus. Although the courtship displays and courtship process that giraffe go through seem to be torturously slow. Here comes the little one now. Hello, Alyssa. And this is one of the great things about Safari Live, of course, is that we learn about new cultures from all over the world all the time. I said happy Boxing Day, and Alyssa wants to know what I mean by that. Boxing Day, I think, is a British tradition where British children, after Christmas Day, would box their old toys, put them in boxes, and then give them to the poor. And that's why it's called Boxing Day. I thought that was a well-known thing from around the world, but I think it's obviously just a British thing. Quite a nice tradition, really. Should possibly be reinstituted. Isn't he a lovely little... I think that's a young male. If I can... I'm going to ask Tebs to try and tap in on his undercarriage there, Tebs. Yeah, that's a young male. And what's interesting is that the giraffe bull here, I mean, he almost looked like he was trying to mount the young calf yesterday, and that was very odd to see indeed. And I think it was simply a function of the fact that the little one is so close to his mother, and his mother's obviously putting out the pheromones that indicate estrus, and that's driving this bull into a giraffe version of a frenzy, which means he moves a little bit faster than slow motion. He's a magnificent fellow. It's a very good-looking family. This really kind of a chocolate box, perfect little family. Right, just before the sun peeps up, I'm going to reverse around and let's have a look at that female. The redhead. while we're doing that, Brent Smith, of course, has managed to find the leopard. That's great news. Let's head across to him, and I'll try and reposition here, and we'll probably stay with these giraffes for a bit longer. See you shortly.
So with the sun not even appearing over the horizon to the east, we're with Karula, the queen of Djuma, who is lying close to where she has that steenbok in a tree, looking very content with life. My name is Brent Smith. I have Andrew Francis on camera with me this morning, and on the screen we have the Queen of Djuma with a very full belly. Looks like she's eaten more than half that carcass. And now she's resting and sleeping off her Christmas dinner. So guys, we do apologize, and we have an open game drive mic again.
Morning, officer. I think Karula's still on the side. Great.
Very heavy head. Sorry guys, I just have to be on the game drive channel. I think she might have seen something. Is it possible a hyena? Can't see anything. Maybe she's heard something. I definitely didn't hear anything, but her hearing is far superior to mine. Can you see anything behind us, Andy? So there is the tree that the killer's in, on top of a large termite mound. But I can't see anything that she might have heard. Maybe she heard something in the distance. And what a way to start the Boxing Day safari. Looks like she's lying in a little shallow depression made by elephants. Is helping ease her very full belly. And for our new viewers out there, isn't this a perfect opportunity to see that distinct spot pattern between her eyes that spells out the word wow. So I don't think she's going to move at all for the next little bit. So James has got something stunning to show you.
Look at that, everybody. We just thought we'd quickly bring you across here to see that the dawn has broken, the sun has risen, and there's just a glorious golden light now covering the landscape from that massive, massive African sun. Isn't that just stunning? And whatever, I'm not sure of the atmospheric conditions through which that sun is shining, but it just is an enormous blazing ball this morning. Stunning. Just incredible how fast it comes up. All right, let's head back to Brent and the inimitable Karula. We're going to head off towards the hyena den, see what we can find there, and I'll keep you updated as we go. See you very shortly.
And you'll see my tracks heading west. So we are back. And still with Karula, who is sleeping off the remnants of her Christmas meal. And we're we're going to stay here for a little bit longer, but then I think we're going to see what else we can find. We will definitely, or James or myself will be back here throughout the sunrise safari. And hopefully she's still here for the sunset safari. I don't think so. There's not that much meat left, but you never know. Maybe Karula's taking the day off and relax around the termite mound. So we have a lovely comment from Sarah, who's 14 years old. She says, wow, Karula is beautiful. And I love her nose. Sarah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. She is an absolutely stunning animal, even when she's sleeping. And being a big cat, she does quite a lot of that. Leopards will probably sleep between 15 and 20 hours a day. Not as much as lions, but with a full belly like this, you can see nice and cool this morning, about 20 degrees Celsius, 76 odd Fahrenheit. And Karula and Andrew and myself are definitely enjoying the cool morning after the sweltering heat of yesterday's sunset safari. There you can see the sun coming up through the Combretum woodland, and Sarah, who's 18 and from Ohio, a very good morrow to you, Sarah, would like to know who had this territory before Karula. Was it her mother? Does she have any siblings? Sarah, it was probably her mother, if I remember correctly. Mother's name was Safari, and she had one eye for for a great part of her life. I'm not sure who Karula's siblings might be, but I'm sure she would have had many over the years. So what happens with female leopards is when they give birth to a female cub, they will actually give up a core part of their territory to their cub, to help it get a much better start in life, and they'll move off and challenge for a new territory or operate in a smaller territory. And female leopard cubs become independent of their mothers far sooner than males. Sometimes males can hang around for about 2 years, sometimes a little bit over 2 years with mom, whereas female cubs are generally independent by a year and a half, sometimes even as young as 12 months, a year on the dot. Oh, tight kitty. So, and she has got that very full tummy. Andre is wondering how fast can she run with a full tummy. Andre, don't worry, that belly will not hinder her speed, and she runs at about 24 meters per second is her top speed. It equates to about 90 kilometers an hour. Leopard is a stalk and ambush predator, so generally they will make sure they're within 5 meters before bursting that speed, and they don't keep it up for very long. And you can see ears flicking already. The biting flies are out even in this cool morning. Fortunately for Andrew and myself, they're focused on Karula and leaving us alone for the moment. As you can see, she's lying down quite close to the termite mound, but out in the relative open. And Ginny Nins is wondering, is this normal for a leopard to sleep out in the open? It is, Ginny, and although leopards do sleep in trees from time to time and cache their kills in a tree, most of the time when a leopard does its sleeping, it is on the ground. The reason she's out in the open at the moment, it's cool, the sun isn't fully up yet. Once it is hot, she would move into the shade. And that's the reason we go on safaris at the time we do. We want to be out where it's cool, where leopards and lions are either moving or out in the open, rather than hiding in the deep shade. Here we go, the sun is about to pop above the tree line. For those of you who missed the sunset Christmas safari, Karula already looked quite full when we found her, and then came back to this termite mound that had a full steenbok that hadn't been fed on in the tree. Now there's less than half a steenbok, but during the night she's managed to munch through the majority of her Christmas dinner, which is in that tree behind us. A little bit later we will show you what remains of the carcass. So we're going to spend a little bit more time here. If she decides, hopefully she decides to get up and climb the tree just now. But in the meantime, let's go have a look at what Commander Bond has got.
Hello, we'll have another wonderful learning opportunity to see these hyenas and their amazing interactions here at the den. At the top there we have Corky, living up to her name, corking that entrance hole to the burrow. Her two twins, D1 and D2. I've yet to be able to distinguish between the two. One's got a bit of a more scarred face, I suppose. And then we did see the November sticking her 7-week-old head out of the top of the den, and then she went back inside. That's her mum there, moving up towards the den. And calling, hoping that the 7-week-old will come out. But normally doesn't come out while the very dominant Corky is around the top of the den there. Normally November stays well inside. And this is fairly typical sort of submissive behavior that we're watching, where Pretty, who's on, we can see now, is sort of showing deference towards the dominant female and her youngsters. I'm making that very low call. They're just marking with her anal gland. And then the others that are here, there's another fully grown adult down bottom there. And two, no, well, sort of almost fully grown adults. I'd say these are probably actually a year old. And then May in the middle. There's May coming towards us now, just to say hello. Very fluffy. She's very sweet. So, some lovely interactions going on here at the den. We'll sit around and see what transpires. The ones are getting a little bit more bold every day I see them out. Just popped over the top there. Now let's see, this will be interesting to see if if they stay over the top, we'll move around to the other side. But now watch, the other adult is going to go up and try and fetch November out of the den. Watch, here we go. Just quickly check to see where Corky's gone. Don't want to move. There she is. Hello, little one. See, as soon as that domineering female goes away, November pops out to say hello. And before the domineering female, Corky, had arrived with her twins, this little one here was running around the vehicle all the way around the bottom of the mound. And as soon as that Corky arrived, clearly a very dominant female within the clan. So November stayed up near the den all the time. Here she comes. Oh, sweet. Now, Whitney, you're on Twitter. We're obviously sitting here in the golden light of the dawn. You want to know if the hyena cubs are more active at night. I would say not, Whitney, and that's because I think that the adults are less here at night. I think they're probably off doing most of their foraging during the night time, and so is when the adults are not here. Look at this little one here. This is a year-old hyena, I think. And then the isn't that great? Oi. Just don't want it to take the wheel hub off. They can take off the oil caps and then it's a disaster. Go. There's a great deal of marking going on. I think these hyena are in very good condition, but Margaret, you reckon it looks like they've eaten recently? I don't think last night. When a hyena gets full, their bellies really look amazingly full, and I think they're certainly in very good nick, but I don't think they had an enormous meal last night. Just amazing to me how clear and how obvious that dominance hierarchy is now. Little November perfectly happy now to spend time out of the den. So Marla and Smiles, you say that November's getting spots already. Yes, she started getting spots about 2 weeks ago. She would have started a bit earlier, but they became noticeable about 2 weeks ago. And you're right, every day that we see her, those spots seem to get a little bit more. But still, she won't come out and spend too much time while Corky is around. You can see her still quite nervous. Now, what's going on here, of course, is that is marking with the anal gland. Hyenas have an anal gland that they use to mark sticks and tufts of grass with. And Pretty, the less dominant mother, was doing a bit of a marking there as well. And so this young adult is marking in the same place. There, now we see the dominance hierarchy again. So Pretty, obviously a little bit more dominant than that one that just marked. And also, interestingly, May is now sort of play fighting with that young adult. And May wouldn't do that, wouldn't have had the confidence to sort of run down and sort of playfully attack the young adult if she too wasn't more dominant. And hyenas, of course, inherit their position in the hierarchy from their mothers. So I think the young adult is quite a subordinate one. And I think May comes from a fairly senior lineage, if not from the matriarch. And interestingly, no, Julia from Houston, you want to know if I can smell the anal pasting from the car. No, I can't. I have smelled it up when I've got up close to it before, but I can't smell it now, no. These hyena dens are surprisingly smell-free. You know, you'd expect that they've been here for only 6 or 7 weeks now in this one den. And you'd expect there to be a fairly foul odor coming up out of the hole, but it's actually very smell-free. That's just a greeting ritual that you're watching there. These are all females, as far as I can tell. There are no males here, unless, well, I think one or both of the twins is probably a male. And Judy, you want to know if the males also anal paste? They do, yes. Even that little one is trying to do it now. See, walking over and sniffing the same tuft of grass, tail cocked up. Oh, too sweet, that little hyena. Hello, Bree on Twitter. You want to know if I've ever had a negative reaction from an adult hyena when I've tried to stop the cub from, or the sort of slightly older cubs, from chewing at the car and biting off the oil caps on the vehicles. Is that anal pasting going on again? No, Bree, I haven't. The adults are generally very tolerant, and the order of things is that if there's ever any threat, the adults will just walk away and the cubs will go into the hole. So they don't bother to try and sort of, here we go, some interesting dominance behavior here. That's a very, very subdominant female, that. Now I can smell it. Can you smell anything, Ted? Yes, we can actually smell it. They've been marking that piece of grass so sort of studiously for the last little while, and there is a bit of a smell. It's certainly not something you'd want to put in your aftershave. I'm just trying to, it basically smells pretty sewage-like, to be honest. Rebecca in Santa Barbara, it's our absolute pleasure, and it's very good to hear that there are 7 new viewers with you watching and that they are hooked. I'm very glad that they're hooked. That is something of a soap opera playing out here at the Hyena Den, and so we'll hope to bring you more of that over the coming weeks. So you can see that one to the far left now, walking sort of off to the left-hand side, is definitely a subdominant female. Now, hello, Kachino John. Yes, you are correct. I have given names, or we have given names to these animals simply because it became so awkward. I was talking about the female with the sort of bald head and bitten ear, and the ooh, lots of dominant hierarchy stuff going on here. And then we were talking about the 7-week-old cub who then became the 8-week-old cub, and then the 6-month-old cub who became the 7-month-old cub, and it all just became rather complex. And so what we did, Kachino John, was to name them, other than the 2 main adults here, we named them after the month in which they were born. So we've got the fluffy cub, which is now 7 and a bit months old. She's called May because she was born in May. We've got 2 Februaries. We can just call them F1 and F2, but I don't know which, I don't know which is which. I can't tell the difference. And then we've got November, who is the soon-to-be 8-week-old cub. And then we have December 1 and December 2, D1 and D2, the 2 cubs born now probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So Kachino John has got everything just to do with the fact that it was becoming so complicated to try and tell people what was going on. And interestingly, Brian, they've been at this den site for much longer than I thought they would. I think they've probably been here almost 6 weeks. Certainly, they were here during the big cat week, and they were here for at least a week or two before the big cat week. So quite a long time, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did move fairly soon. All right, we're going to sit here for a while, just see what unfolds. Let's head back across to Brent. Oh, quickly before we do that. Here are the twins coming. And sometimes these little dominance displays can escalate into something quite unpleasant, as we saw about 3 weeks ago, where one of the hyenas was nearly killed by, we think, her own clan mates. All right, let's head back across to Brent Leo Smith. He's sitting with Karula, see what she has to say to us. I'll see you shortly.
So we've just popped around. Karula is still a flat cat on the other side of this tree and termite mound, just to show you the remnants of the steenbok. There we go, you can see she's eaten more than half of it already. And from what we can see there, it looks like the front half is remaining. See the flies already on it. Look at all the flies roosting around on the branches around there. Sorry guys, I think we're on the Game Drive channel. Sorry, just listening to an update. Nothing that concerns us too much. But Aubrey is on the other side of the termite mound with Karula. So we're not going to pop across there just now. She is still a flat cat. I was hoping she might move and climb up this milkberry. So a quick recap on what happened yesterday. So we were lucky enough to see 2 leopards on drive yesterday, Karula being the second, and she's killed an adult steenbok. But she had a full belly before she started feeding, so I think she might have maybe killed a baby impala or 2, and as well as a steenbok. So a very successful Christmas day for Karula. Such a beautiful morning. Very, very still, not even a breath of wind. Lovely cloud formations up in the sky. Very high clouds called cirrus. That's the remnants of Karula's meal. Still a little bit left to be eaten. Sounds like Aubrey's on the move, so or maybe Karula is. Let's just stand right here a second. If she's on the move, we're exactly where we want to be, because she's going to climb up the tree towards us. I'm just going to ask Aubrey now when he gets a bit closer whether she's on the move or not. think she is, just judging by the way he's moving his vehicle. So you just, Andrew really thinks it's going to be the best to get her. She's going to come up there, like that, and then go a little bit further back if she's on the move. No, she's not on the move. So let's head back to where she's sleeping. She is still lying in her little hollow. Yeah, the woodlands kingfishers are breaking the dawn with their chorus. And what a way to start the sunrise safari. With Karula doing what most people like to do at this time of the morning, sleep. You can see the early morning light starting to touch Karula's back as the sun gets a little bit higher in the sky. So even though she is sleeping, if you notice her ears are still on alert, and will move every now and then, just pick up the different sounds that are around. So more and more photos on Twitter would like to know, do leopards have a preference for certain trees, or is it more just a function of getting the kill off the ground and height? Well, they do, and generally the trees that are easier to climb, specifically when carrying a load, like a steenbok, so I think it's more a function of accessibility. In this area, leopards hoist their kills more often than not because we do have a high density of hyenas. There we go, you can see that wonderful morning light. Oh, but off to James with probably one of the best looking little creatures here at Djuma.
He obviously wasn't referring to me, everybody. There's a pygmy kingfisher there. Isn't that beautiful? And quite fascinatingly nesting in the same hole that the twins belonging, now named D1 and D2, belonging to Corky live. And that hole is the one just over there, above which Corky is lying. And things have calmed down here at the hyena den. That sort of dominance display that was going on seems to have been sorted out. The hierarchy is re-established. And of course the hierarchy amongst hyenas is fascinating because it doesn't seem to be challenged that often. In fact, it's very seldom. And so if you're born into a low-ranking kind of a piece of the hierarchy, unfortunately that's where you will remain. It's not like you can sort of challenge for a better position in the clan. You inherit your mother's status, and that just seems to remain the same until you die. Oh, look, now the kingfisher's right above the hole. Let's see if she doesn't go in. They nest in banks or in termite mounds like this, so they'll go and excavate a little hole in the roof of the termite mound. Isn't that the most stunning little bird? And the hyenas seem to be completely tolerant of it. And Marisha, interesting question. You want to know if the adults are tolerant of the subordinate cubs? Marisha, they are not always, and as we can see with, oh, sorry, here's little May, she's come to say hello to us. So Marissa, as you can see, Corky is intolerant of Pretty's cub, November. November, of course, belongs to Pretty, and Pretty is clearly subordinate to Corky. And when Corky's around, November will not come out of that hole. So they're not particularly tolerant of lower-ranking females' cubs. She's a beautiful hyena, this. And that's just a function of the fact that she hasn't had a very hard life yet. She hasn't ever left the den any length of time. And so she hasn't had to go through any of the fights over food or territory that many of the other clan members would have. She's looking at some kind of disturbance to the other side of us, but I don't know what that is. Oh, it looks like getting sleepy. Shannon, I forget exactly which event you are referring to, but you say once on drive I was driving along looking for a flower, and when I found it, I said it smelled like something had died. I can't remember exactly which one I was looking for, but you say, could it have been that that area had been marked by an hyena's anal pasting? Yes, it could be, certainly. Tebs and I are sitting here now thinking, I've basically told you a lie. I said that the place wasn't smelly. Since they've been anal pasting that piece of grass, there really is a fairly foul and very strong odor around the place. It smells like a mixture between hyena dung and rotting flesh. So yes, it's not nice at all. So Shannon, yes, that is quite possible. I'm just trying to remember, if you remember what flower it was, I might be able to more accurately tell you. It's very peaceful now, and a lot louder, the dawn chorus this morning. Here's this kingfisher again, sitting right above us. just see it silhouetted against the lovely sky. Now, like I say, these kingfishers are nesting within the hole that the two twins, D1 and D2, are living in. And T. van Wyk, you want to know if I think that they will succeed in breeding with given that they're sharing their home with four-legged creatures. I think they will, you know. I mean, I don't know why they'd still be here if there was any kind of threat. So I think absolutely it seems to be completely normal for them to be in the termite mound with the hyenas. And, you know, it probably provides a level of security. Their main threats, I suppose, would be monitor lizards and perhaps snakes and even mongoose coming into the mound and stealing the chicks out of the nest, badgers as well. What else would do it? You know, those are probably the main ones. But with the hyenas here, you know, perhaps the hyenas don't bother because they're so small and the chicks will be even smaller. And so perhaps the hyenas actually provide a sort of security detail for the nest. Maybe they've actually chosen to be in a mound with the hyenas. I'm not sure of any other records of it happening. I'll have a little look on my bird app just now and see if there are any records of it. But certainly it would seem to me, you know, there are hundreds and hundreds of termite mounds out here with lots of holes in them, most of them not occupied by hyenas. So the fact that they've chosen this one, I think, is quite telling. Safari Dean, you want to know, obviously you've been watching for a while and the flies have been quite astonishing over the last few days. You want to know if we could keep a kingfisher and train it to keep the bugs off us. Safari Dean, I think that would be very difficult indeed. And I think the best option for a bird like that would probably be an oxpecker or a little flycatcher that could sit on your shoulder and hawk away the insects, even a little bee eater. In fact, a little bee eater would be my choice. I'm not sure how effective it would be. All right, we're going to leave these chaps. They don't seem to be doing much more. We'll head along the northern boundary towards Buffelshoek Dam, see if maybe there aren't any dog tracks coming across, but it does seem to me that those dogs have absconded somewhere where we can't see them, unfortunately. Like I was just saying, a slightly louder dawn chorus than yesterday. Lots more in the way of orioles, white-browed scrub robins, ring-necked doves, chagras, and smaller birds like the tawny-flanked prinia, chip, 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 chip. Some long-billed crombricks. Beautiful. Oh, and I'll just quickly play you the call of the pygmy kingfisher. You want to know if they have a call like the other kingfishers, like those woodland kingfishers. And Margaret, they don't. They've got a much more subtle call. The woodland kingfisher is about as subtle as a jackhammer. I'll play you the call of the pygmy kingfisher. It's very lovely. This is it here. You hear that very subtle sound? So that's the very subtle call of the pygmy kingfisher. Difficult to hear, actually. If you're not watching the bird calling, it's difficult to hear. All right, let's head out of here. Good night, hyenas. Enjoy your respite, your Boxing Day snooze. I think we'll probably have to link across to Brent if we can, simply because we can't start the car until we've turned the camera off. This is one of the foibles of Rusty, of course. So let's head back across to Brent Leo Smith, and I will see you shortly.
So as you can see, the Queen is still resting. I'm not having moved much of a muscle since you were last here. So I think we're going to give it a few more minutes and then we're going to move off from here and come back a little bit later on the safari. Not much movement at all. So, as we watch the Queen fast asleep in a nice cool morning, Jenny M would like to know, do we ever see leopards dreaming like we would see sometimes with domestic cats and dogs? We do, not as common, but we do sometimes see them dreaming, twitching tails, legs, ears. It seems to be more common in younger animals than older animals. See how it is still moving. She is still aware of what's happening around her. But as you can see, she takes zero notice of us as we start the vehicle. And she's going to be sleeping for a while still. We're going to head off and come back later in the safari, or James might pop in here a bit later. Shame, poor James hasn't seen leopards for a while. They don't seem to like him at the moment. To Anne and Tristan in Texas on last night's sunset safari. Tristan has asked me how many spots does a leopard have? So I said, Tristan, I am not sure. Why don't you take a screenshot and try count them? And Anne's just letting me know that Tristan had some difficulty with this and also with staying awake. So Anne, hopefully that helped you get him down for the evening. And Tristan eventually decided a leopard has the exact right amount of spots. So well done to you guys, and thanks for letting me know how the leopard spot counting went. I wonder what else this beautiful African dawn is going to hold for us. We definitely will be back with Karula, but let's go see if there's any other wonderful creatures out and about on this cool morning. On the Game Drive radio for a second. Stay observations, leaving Karula lying up in the same position. Have there been any other updates for the last half an hour or so? Lovely, thanks, Seth. Okay, so no other updates while we've been with the Queen. Just as we make our way away from that carcass and Karula, Jeffrey in Austin, Texas, would like to know, will the carcass affect the tree, either positively or negatively? Is there any benefit, or is there any way it can harm the tree? Jeffrey, no, not at all. It's just basically sitting in the tree. It's not going to make a difference to the tree either way, whether it's there or not. Have a meander past the treehouse waterhole. See what's happening there. Beautiful clouds, as I said, called cirrus. High, very high clouds. Will mostly be made up of ice. To Miss Jen in Dallas. It seems Texas is wide awake at the moment. Lots of questions coming through from the Lone Star State. Miss Jen would like to know, how long have I been living in the bush, and have I possibly lived in the bush longer than the other presenters? Well, apart from a year in Johannesburg and 2 years Cape Town and overseas, out of my whole life, 3 years is the sum total in 32 that I have not lived in the bush permanently. So with that taken into account, I would say yes, I've probably lived in the bush longer than all the other presenters. Been very, very lucky. Thank you, Bill. Bill says, nice job on the table set up for Christmas lunch yesterday. Well, after Andrew, Louise and James made such a big effort with the Christmas Eve setup, I thought if they're coming across to where I live at the swimming pool, I might as well put some proper effort into it. And our main centerpiece, believe it or not, was actually an elephant femur. Oh, there's something we very seldom get on camera. It's still running, Andrew. A slender mongoose. It's moving at high speed. Might stop. It's not stopping. It's still going. And it's going. Might stop in that little bit there. It has. Okay, this is going to be quite difficult to spot. One of the mammals we often see, but you guys don't get to see it with us because they're very quick. Just frame up on there because it might run from in there. I think it's going already. Okay, base of the marula tree, coming this way. You got him. And it's the thicket there. Okay. Saw a little flash. It's got a very distinct black tail. So it's in there. And zoom in. It's hiding in the thick there. Might just pick him up as he decides to move along. There he goes, he's coming out to the right, Andrew. There he is. Look at that, isn't that incredible? Off it goes. You can see how quick they are, which makes them so difficult. Now these guys are ferocious hunters. I've even seen them up the trees trying to catch squirrels. Where's he gone? There you go, he's on the move again. Squirrels, Franklin. Look at that. And you can see that black tip to the tail was very distinct with the slender mongoose, and see how he's foraging, and they forage at high speed, as you can see. And quite often when we hear squirrels alarm calling and we go check to see if it's a leopard, it's often these little guys that might be hunting the squirrels. So I was actually tracking the one there, and all of a sudden I saw the slender mongoose high in a marula tree, which I'd never seen before, trying to grab a squirrel, and he's disappeared down towards the thick bush there. Well done, great camera work, Andrew. And there's a mammal species we don't often get on camera. So this is definitely being started off as a rocking sunrise safari. Karula, hyenas, and a slender mongoose. So far, very predator focused. I wouldn't mind adding a lion or two to that predator focused morning. Now this is a challenge for James. Let us try see who can find the most predators this morning. I think we are, well, James is, we're one up with the slender mongoose. We've had leopard and slender mongoose. James has had hyenas. So this is a far more specific mammal challenge. And let's keep it to mammalian predators. Could be lots of fun to look for the killers out there. Cat in Florida. Cat says, what a wonderful sunrise safari so far. Giraffe, sunrise, leopard, hyena, slender mongoose. James and Brent rocking the sunrise safari. Thanks very much, Cat. We do appreciate it. And we shall take a bow. But it's not over yet. Still lots more out there to find. See what area James is working, so I can work a different area. James would like to know whether we're doing carnivores or predators. That's a very interesting question. I think we should stick with carnivores. Carnivores is the challenge. I'm just going to call James quickly. James, engeme moyen. James, what area are you working at the moment? That'll be nice. I'm going to check down towards Twin Dams, Chitticut Line, see if possibly there's any sign of those that are coming back. James is busy checking the north. We're going to check down towards the southern boundary and the eastern boundary. Come on, Andrew. Eyes open. So if we're looking for carnivores, you guys let me know what other carnivores could we possibly see here on Djuma and Arathusa private game reserves, and send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv, or just use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And not only have you sending answers, if you'd like to just ask us any questions about what's going on in the bush and what we're seeing, anything you might have pondered about the great wide wilderness, or African wilderness, should I say, don't feel shy to ask. Bit of cloud cover is keeping it wonderful and cool. Well, it seems like Gresha in Texas has picked up on a little sidebar on the challenge. I said name the carnivores, or members of the order Carnivora, that we might possibly encounter on this sunrise safari. And I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to answer your question because it'll give away some of the answer, Bishop. But mongoose are of the order Carnivora, and Bishop would like to know how many mongoose species do we get at Djuma. I think you're going to have to look that one up. Really nice to have a little bit of respite from the heat. Quite a few elephant tracks around here, but they look quite, well, not old, but from last night. So it's possible Ellie's have moved quite a big distance since then. Let's go see what Commander Bond's got. And it's very large, almost as big as this Land Rover.
Look at this mud bespattered hippopotamus coming out of the mud here at Buffelshoek Dam, which is now dry, of course. Well, dryish. I can actually smell the mud on the back end of that hippopotamus. Just sneak a little bit forward. Go, and he's just come way straight out of the middle of the dam there, and I'm not really sure why he came out. I think maybe he feels a little bit threatened because it's not proper water. He can't kind of go underneath it. It's just this great gloop of mud, and it was incredible to watch him kind of blast his way through there. He just sort of he didn't obviously make any attempt to walk on top. He just kind of plowed himself a path through that mud. And having been in there yesterday myself, it it's very unpleasant and it looks like it's quite sort of easy to walk along the top of, but it really isn't. You sink horribly into it, and those pieces of clay there have got tremendously sharp edges. And the other thing that's in there, of course, are a lot of fish bones. And those fish bones are like little razors, little needles and razors. Slice you to pieces. But obviously, for something as large as a hippopotamus, it's not going to make any difference. But a hippo, this is seriously suboptimal territory. This is really desperation stuff. For a young bull to be using this as a home, it means that they're under serious pressure in the more sort of salubrious neighborhoods of hippopotamus habitation. So down in the river and at the bigger dams, obviously, the water is shrinking as the drought progresses, and so the habitat for young bulls like that is obviously much diminished, and the older bulls are throwing them out. So I'll be interested to see if he comes back here today. He obviously just didn't feel safe as we arrived, so he pushed his way out and has wandered off into the bush there. And you want to be very careful on foot when you're walking around an area like this. There's a hippo in the bush, and he feels threatened by the fact that he can't get to water. That's when a hippo becomes dangerous. So we talk a lot about potentially dangerous animals. Well, a hippopotamus out of the water is potentially dangerous. And Jeffrey in Texas, you just answered a question. I think it was Maurizio who wanted to know about the stink around about a place where I was trying to find a flower. And you say it was a leopard orchid flower in a tree, and there must have been a smell around there. Yeah, it could well have been a hyena anal pasting in an area like that. Certainly the flower of the leopard orchid has quite nice sweet scent to it. And I've tried one now for the last 2 days. Sorry about that, we've just got to get through that. Signal is never good there. Now we've come to the other side of Buffelshoek Dam. We're going to be heading down towards the south, just to see what we can find. Now, Brent Leo Smith has issued another challenge. He likes to issue challenges, does old BLS, and that is to find the most number of mammalian carnivores. Now, originally he said the most number of predators, and of course that was not a strictly biologically clever thing to say, because strictly out here predators would constitute even herbivores. Remember that if you happen to be a piece of grass, a wildebeest constitutes a fearsome predator for you. And certainly when we talk about predation in a biological sense, we absolutely include anything that will eat anything else. And so, you know, it might be every leadwood tree has got a predator. From insects down to giraffe, and then even elephants could be considered predators. And then when we talk of carnivores, strictly we don't only mean meat eaters, because then we could include things like squirrels, or what else would be carnivorous? The squirrels, which are rodents, and they don't belong to the order Carnivora. Carnivora, of course, is a very distinct order of mammals, to which all of the familiar carnivores belong. The dogs and the cats and the hyenas and the badgers and the bears and the mongoose, which you saw. Wonderful that you got a nice slender mongoose sighting. That's really great, because we just normally see them scuttling across the road with their tails held up, and we don't get to see them. So I'm very glad that you got to see that. I will take up Brent Leo Smith's challenge on. Obviously, he's had leopard, which is a very good one to get, and slender mongoose. It puts him at a very distinct advantage. Good start for him. Next obvious thing to look for, of course, will be dwarf mongoose, which will be sitting around termite mounds at this time of the morning, just thinking about going out to forage, keeping their very sort of sedate and civilized hours, do the dwarf mongoose. Otherwise, a lion would be an excellent carnivore to get. Badger would be even better, I think. Or another leopard. One day also, I think we should have the challenge where if one person has spotted something, the next person can't count it. In fact, I think we should do that today. So if Brent sees a hyena, he doesn't get hyena, and likewise, if I see a leopard or a slender mongoose, I don't get either of those two. Yeah, that's a much better idea. Well, changing the rules as you go along. X-Ranger, I'm not sure if you're being serious or not, but you say you've always known this is Boxing Day because people need boxes of headache pills after Christmas Day. No, I don't think that was the original reason for it being called Boxing Day. And I imagine, X-Ranger, I think you're in Tasmania. I imagine in Australia it's also called Boxing Day. So it's an extension of the British tradition. We're driving very slowly along here in Rusty, because if we drive faster in Rusty, Tebs will be bounced clean out of the back of the car, and then I'll have to film myself, and we definitely don't want that to happen. It's always good to drive at a sedate pace out here, though. It's when you spot the most things. Chris Rogue, you reckon because Brent got a slender mongoose, I need to get a honey badger? Yeah, maybe. I have seen a honey badger exactly where we are now, actually. But they too don't seem to like to be around on camera very much. They're very camera shy. You see them and they just scuttle off into the bush. Let's go on to the cheetah cut line, which is the far eastern boundary. There's actually a bit of a nip in the air this morning. It's lovely. After the heat, yesterday's temperature was just perfect as well. Really, it was wonderful. They say that we might get a bit of rain today. They say this quite often, though, and they are normally wrong, whoever they are. Hello, Michael Fleetwood on Twitter, and I'm afraid in the last few days we've had to do quite a lot of describing of the lions rather than showing them to you, and that's because they just haven't been using Juma for the last little while. Michael Fleetwood, you want to know what the background to the Birmingham Boys is? The Birmingham Boys were first seen during Big Cat Week last year, and by Hayden, I think Hayden found them, and they were young then. They were probably about just over 3 years old. They're now probably sitting at about just over 4, obviously. It was about a year ago. And they come from a farm called Birmingham up north in the Timbavati. And that is also part of the Greater Kruger National Park. So when I use the term farm, I do mean a sort of private piece of land, but within the Greater Kruger National Park, in the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. And that's north and slightly to the west of us. And they were born to a pride in Birmingham, on the farm Birmingham. And one of the interesting things is that 4 of them seem to be brothers, I think, or certainly very closely related, and the other is slightly older and looks very distinct from them. So I don't think all 5 of them are from the same mother. Well, they're definitely not from the same mother, all 5 of them. And they may not even be from the same pride, all 5. That other one may have joined them. Anyway, they then pushed south into this area, and for a year they were kind of nomadic, and their presence was only known through the number of buffalo that they managed to kill and eat. And then eventually, I think it was in winter this year, probably around June, on a very misty morning, they actually decided to sort of push home their advantage. They made a genuine kind of invasion. They came in out of the north, out of Buffelshoek, and they started roaring for the first time. And the two Matimba males, who are much bigger than them, but obviously only two of them versus five, were sitting around just to the south of where we are now. And they roared a bit in a kind of challenge, and those five Birmingham males ran then to the south to see if they could catch the Matimba males, and the Matimba males scuttled off and haven't been seen since. Not in this area. They seem to have carved out a small territory for themselves around Londolozi, which is to the south of us here. There's a diker on the road there, and that's been the last we've kind of heard from them. But the Birmingham boys have been around here, and they've created enormous upheaval. They've killed a number of females, certainly from the lion pride that we used to see the most often, the Nkuhuma pride, and the Nkuhuma pride seems to be making their way back into this area, but for months now we haven't seen them. Mainly, I think, because they're trying to stay away from these marauding males, and they've certainly killed all the cubs from the Styx pride. That's entirely normal for a coalition takeover of an area. And so that's the background to the Birmingham boys. And just remember, for those of you who are new viewers and those of you who are inexperienced in the safari game, which is of course what we do now, pride, when I use the term lion pride, that does not, it specifically excludes the males. They are not part of the pride. And so we refer to a male coalition, which would be the Matimba males and the Birmingham boys. Those would be the two coalitions that were sort of fighting over the territory, and they would then have, within their territory, they will have a number of pride territories. In the case of the Birminghams, they've got the Styx pride. I think there are two versions of the Styx pride, and they've got the Nkuhuma pride here, and Talamati pride will eventually fall under their ambit, but at the moment the Talamati pride are 5 females, and I think there are a few youngsters too, and falls under the protection of the Salati males, also 2 big mature males. So there you go, Michael Fleetwood. That's the background to the Birmingham boys. And of course one of them was seen mating on the Djuma Dam cam 2 days ago on Christmas Eve actually, with one of the Styx females, we think. No more tracks of lions crossing this road. That's why I'm on the eastern boundary, hoping perhaps they've come back across onto Djuma. But I don't see any tracks other than the tracks of a hippopotamus. And if you look down the road there, here comes Brent Leo Smith. You can see the tracks of a hippo here on the road. Also, old tracks of wild dogs. That's quite interesting. Tibbs, if they're these sort of dog-like tracks, I'm not sure that the camera's going to pick them up, though. Yeah, you can see the hippo tracks there. There's the anti-poaching unit, who clearly has no appreciation of the need for television. And that's a good thing, though. We don't want them modifying their operations for anything. They're doing a sterling job. We'll just wait here for them to go past. Brent Leo Smith, of course, is making an approach. And for some reason, Andrew is wearing his Santa hat, or Brent's Santa hat from yesterday, which is, of course, very strange, given that the Christmas is now over. So anti-poaching unit just looking after the rhino mainly. That's basically their function at the moment. I'm just going to wait for Brent to come up, and we'll get a plan from him as to what he's going to be up to, and we'll try and coordinate activities to find, well, whatever it is that Djuma has to offer at the moment. Unfortunately, like I say, no lion tracks seem to be coming across, which is, well, a little bit irksome to say the least.
Hello.
Hi, Brent.
Hi, Jesse.
Why has Andrew got his Santa hat on?
I don't know. He tried to put it over everything in the car all day.
It's very odd, really, isn't it?
It is very odd.
It is so odd.
So interesting, there are 22 members of the Order Carnivora that can possibly
occur here.
Yeah, according to distribution maps, there's 24, but I've never heard of 2 of those species over in the Sabi Sands.
Which are those two?
The spotted-necked otter
Yes.
and the Salu mongoose.
Yes, unlikely we'll see either of those two here.
Or another 20 of the order
yes, quite.
But we will try.
Yes.
Good luck.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I'm not going to shake your hand. My hand is full of cuts and bruises. Very sore.
Okay, well,
We're going to
good
link.
luck.
We're going to
May the
link
best
across to
man
Brent now. And have you linked already?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know which camera's on.
No, I think mine's my.
Oh, now it's Andrew's camera.
Right.
So now we're back with me. If I push the button correctly, oh yeah. I think what's happened is the heat. The heat is playing havoc with the batteries. Oh no, it's Rust. Rusty is blocking my mobilizer.
Okay.
Bye guys.
Good luck.
I hope it's Rusty blocking the mobilizer, otherwise we're not moving at all. And, oh dear. Yeah, there we go. Rusty is gone. We are now mobile. I think it was James just trying to slow us down to make sure he can get more of the order carnivora than I can. There are 22 possibilities, as we mentioned earlier. It's very unlikely we're going to come across the majority of them. I think we're sitting quite well on 3 between the 2 vehicles at the moment, and I think we'll be very lucky if we get 5 on this sunrise safari, but I shall try. It's one of the reasons I came to this little area here. Area where I have seen the Millivora capensis a couple of times. I wonder out there who knows what Millivora capensis is. If you know what Millivora capensis is, send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv or hashtag Safari Live. What is the common English name for the mammal of the order Carnivora, of the family Viveridae, whose scientific name is Millivora capensis? Andrew, do you know? No, Andrew doesn't know. I've given you a few clues there. It falls under the family Viveridae. James. So guys, look at this. On top of my tracks from yesterday where I tracked the lions out, these lion tracks coming in. Very interesting. James. Just want to call James, see if he can check around the other side. So, very much on top of my tracks from yesterday. Stations in Gonzo of Ngala coming in on Central on top of my tracks from yesterday. I'm going to be following up. Oh, red-headed beavers, Andrew. Oh, it just took off. It might come back. Affirmative.
Yeah, because I was in Gonzo yesterday afternoon. Was coming from Torchwood, compound to Rias, and I didn't go to come up back again to Torchwood.
I followed that in console yesterday morning, but these are on top of the Morva tracks from yesterday afternoon. It's coming back, Andrew. Look how brilliantly bright that bird is. It's in this, see this? There we go, look at that. This is a red-headed weaver. Very pretty bird. In his full breathing plumage. And how incredibly scarlet is his head. Going back to the nest. Busy building the nest there. But from one of the reasons this weaver builds this nest with a very long entrance is to stop a predatory bird species that James has to show you right now.
Now there is a gymnogene, everybody, and it was trying to raid the nest of those hornbills that have just flown past. And the hornbills, I think, have a nest in the dead tree out of which the gymnogene's just flown. Let's head up to the nest, to the tree there, and see if we can't find the nest. There was certainly alarm calling. They were going, pew, 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 pew. So it's just up here. What else is going on here? Now, hornbills, of course, nest in tree holes, as do starlings. There's a starling on that tree there. Let's just see if we can't spot a hole in the tree in which maybe the hornbills or the starlings were sitting or nesting. And of course, dead trees will have much more will have a greater number of holes in them than will living trees because of the funguses and wood borer beetles that dig out the holes, and then the woodpeckers get in there and the barbets dig holes. And so much better places for hole nesting birds to sit. So maybe it was a starling nest that the gymnogene was after. It may have been the hornbill nest as well. This tree looks to me like it's probably got more starling in it than hornbill, simply because it's not very big. Doesn't look like it's got very wide, large cavities. Fascinating stuff. Now, the gymnogene is an interesting bird because it's got what we call a double-jointed intertarsus, and the intertarsus is the kind of elbow joint on the back of on the feet or on the legs, and it's that kind of bendy knee joint on a bird. And on the gymnogene, it bends both ways. It can go beyond 90 degrees so that they can reach right into holes in these trees and pull the chicks out. So they're nest raiders, that's what they do. Fascinating. Right, let us continue upon our way. Go back the way we came. Seen any further lion tracks, unfortunately, so I think the lions remain off Djuma. And like I say, one of the real positives of that, of course, is that the little baby wildebeest, every day they grow a little bit stronger, because so often they're born and, within the first 2 weeks or so, maybe 50 or 60% of them have been smashed by lions. So for the wildebeest, they will not be in the slightest bit sad that the lions are not about at the moment. Definite nip in the air is quite nice. I think even Tibbs is even wearing a jersey. I thought about putting my jacket on, to be honest. We'll ease our way down this road and rust bucket. Hello, Bill. You want to know how our Christmas dinner turned out the other night? It actually turned out very well. We had a delicious gammon, some wonderful chicken, beautifully cooked vegetables. We had some brandy-soaked Christmas puddings that we set alight to the tune of the 79th Farewell from Gibraltar. So it was a very good Christmas dinner. Everyone entered into the spirit of it. And then yesterday, Brent Smith threw us a lunch party at his place. That sounds like it was very exotic, and it was very nicely done, actually. The centerpiece was on the table was an enormous elephant femur into which candles and crackers had been placed. The Maasai Shuka as the tablecloth. It was very, very innovatively done. A very festive African Christmas it was. I'd seen a buffalo, but it just seems to be the thick trunk of a tree. Yeah. Jenny M, we saw some wild dog tracks there on the cheetah cut line, and you want to know if there have been any updates on them. Yes, they have. Apparently they've gone west towards Elephant Plains. So yesterday they were on Simbambili. They came on to Weirtella or Juma very briefly, and then they turned around, went back west again, kept going west on Simbambili, and apparently have gone into Elephant Plains, which is even further west of Arathusa. So that's where they are at the moment. I mean, they could come on to Juma, cover the distance between there and here in, I wouldn't say much more than 20 minutes. So when they're on the hunt this afternoon, they might do that. They might, of course, go completely the opposite direction. It just depends on what whim takes them. See, quite thick bush around here. And this is a result, I think, in my humble opinion, of too few elephants. These are strychnos trees, black monkey oranges, and no tree should be able to grow in this kind of mono-specific stand. You've got a great deal of kind of only one tree. And certainly when the elephants do come through here, they seem to make a big difference to it. Cloud in the sky. Like I say, I just don't think it's going to rain. I don't believe the clouds here anymore. They tell a great deal of lies. A great many. So far, I failed to find another carnivore, not a dwarf mongoose, just that hyena. Now, Brent says that there are 20 that we could potentially see here. I suppose we could see a banded mongoose as well. The dwarf mongoose, of course. The lion, the hyena, the leopard, the slender mongoose, the Cape clawless otter. He spoke about a spotted-necked otter, neither of which we're going to see here because they live down on the river. So I would struggle to get 22 carnivores. I suppose the badger, the striped polecat. I'm only on 9 so far. Possibly a brown hyena, but really unlikely. So anybody else can think of what I'm leaving out in terms of the 20 carnivores I could be seeing, let me know. I'm sure that they'll come to me eventually. Right, we're now across the mall, which is the major line. Apparently you're watching and everybody, we are in a slightly dodgy signal area for Rust Bucket. And Lynn, you say you're enjoying some eggnog with the family, with some mini mincemeat. That's a great combination. A number of them, thank you very much, have sent through some recipes for eggnog, which, because I was so disparaging of it, because the thought of drinking raw eggs was just very difficult for me to come to terms with. I'm now going to have to obviously try and make some and see what it tastes like. I think we'll try and order the ingredients with the next shopping trip. I'll keep you posted on the eggnog project. Eggnog. It's a good word, eggnog. I suppose it's still, I wonder if there are any parts of the world it's still Christmas Day. Perhaps in Hawaii it's still Christmas Day. It must be Christmas Day on the east coast of the United States as well. Ah, there we go. Oh. Tammy G, my apologies, my profound apologies. It's only 8:30 in the evening on Christmas Day in Seattle. And so yes, Andrew's Santa hat was entirely appropriate for that. So I shall quit teasing him immediately. Good one, thank you, Tammy. Very, very salient point. All right, let's head back across to Brent and Andrew Santa Claus Francis, get an update for them. We'll carry on driving down here. I'm going to rack my brains for exactly which carnivores I should be able to see here. See you just now.
So, some bad news, I'm afraid. The lions keep toying with us. They came in very, very briefly to Djuma and then disappeared again back to the east. So, unfortunate, but they've got to come back at some point. So, I'm just listening to the radio. Oh, there's an update from further east, from Cheetah Plains. Oh, excuse me. Two of the Birminghams have caught a baby buffalo quite far to the south and east of us. We're going to check the Milwaukee drainage line or riverbed. So this is a dry riverbed. It will flow very, very seldom and only times of very heavy rain. But what I am hoping is the elephants have started digging holes to get to the water like they've done at the Treehouse Waterhole. There's a remnant coming up over there, but it hasn't been dug for a while. It is possible that this has been dry so long, we've had so little rain, that the underground water is almost too low for them to get to. Andrew has spotted a paradise flycatcher, he says. Very beautiful bird with a long, long tail. So let's try look for that now. Looks like it's escaped. It's flown off. Well done to Jim, Alyssa, and many others who got that mammal quiz question correct. What is a Millivora capensis? It is the honey badger or rattle. Well done, guys, and that would definitely be a cherry on the top for the carnivore challenge. And I was checking the area where I've seen them quite a few times on foot. Sammy in Texas, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Sammy would like to know, what is my favorite thing about the bush? Now that's a really incredibly difficult question to answer, Sammy. I'm just going to have to say everything. It is just everything. Without every little facet, it just wouldn't be the bush. So everything's interconnected. So I would have to go, everything's my favorite thing about the bush, except for the biting flies and mosquitoes. Checking very carefully along here. Beautiful section of the reserve. Going to slowly make our way back towards Karula. See if she's decided to climb the tree or move around a bit. She was very much a static cat when we were there last. We saw those lion tracks a little bit earlier, and Michael Fleetwood is wondering whether I've ever seen a giraffe killed by lions. Oh, sorry, Michael is from the great state of Virginia. And Michael, I've actually seen it multiple times. In this area, I have seen Tumapoho, which was an old coalition of male lions take down an adult male giraffe by tracing him into a drainage line, causing him to trip and then pouncing upon him. I've also seen it in Botswana and somewhere else as well. But I have, yes, quite a few times. It is an incredible sighting to behold. Is to be the first one to spot a dwarf mongoose. If James spots one before us, it'll tie it all up, and to get that last species will be very, very hard. So I think that's why he made the rule of no going, if he's seen hyena, I can't count hyena, because he knows he's got a very good chance of we both do of finding that dwarf mongoose. But I think we got the kicker this morning, which was that beautiful Stendermark mongoose with some fantastic camera work by Andrew. I've got a trick up my sleeve as to where there might be some dwarf mongoose. It's still a bit cold this morning, so you've got to catch them at home as they are getting up from where they've spent the night. I'm hoping they're going to be at one of the termite mounds I know that they use as a den site. Debbie, happy Boxing Day. Debbie is from New Jersey. Debbie would like to know, or says, our job seems to require quite a lot of energy and stamina. Do I stick to a specific exercise or eating plan to keep my energy levels up? I don't, Debbie. I eat what I feel like, and I do try to do some exercise, but not too much. But I mean, we do walk quite long distances, and I am in general quite an energetic person. I think I was most teachers' nightmare when I was at school, a classic, as they would call, ADHD child. But I know some of the other staff, James in particular, has a very regimental exercise program and diet. But I don't think that's for energy levels, it's more for just a sense of well-being. We do try to play touch rugby with the other lodges when we get the opportunity, and the most sport we've done recently is dance. Have a quick look around the Juma waterhole, and we are now in the range of that wonderful business of dwarf mongoose. We're going to try spot them. Andrew, mongoose eyes on. Congratulations to Clown Sharon on Twitter with the red-headed weaver this morning. She hit 150 bird species on the live drive. That's incredible. Well done, Sharon. So there we go, guys. You've just started your list. You're now going to catch up with Sharon. Having a carnivore challenge at the moment between James and myself. You can see you can find as many members of the order Carnivora and Siberia one of our zoomies, would like to know, is a genet a carnivore or is it more of an insectivore? Siberia, it is a member of the order Carnivora, so it is a carnivore. They do eat birds and rats and other things, but it does also eat insects, but it falls under the order Carnivora. Oh, look here, here are the cute little babies and the quarantine wildebeest and some giraffe as well. The quarantine babies. To you too. Let's have a quick head count, see how many we've got. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Should be 9 by last count. Yes, 9. So, no more mishaps with predators. Let's just go forward a little bit. Oh, listen to that noise, so cute. Oh, there we go, then come up to the open there. The rest are going to come through to the right. There we go. Look at them. Sweetie pies. And you can see how quickly they grow. And on some of them, we can already see those little protrusions of the horns starting to break the skin. And although they are still very reliant on mother's milk, they will have started eating some grass already. Definitely one of my favorite antelope species. So funny looking. They're only weaned at 8 months, so they are reliant on mother's milk for quite a long period of time. And in certain cases, if mom loses her calf, the previous year's baby will continue to suckle for up to 16 months. But they are already starting to supplement mother's milk with grass. Ahead we have some giraffe. Quite sure this is probably the same giraffe James had in the sunrise this morning. Male and female that I can see at the moment. Yeah, this big giraffe bull here has been having amorous intentions towards the female since yesterday afternoon. I don't think he's going to get anywhere because I just noticed if we look directly through the tree that giraffe bull is feeding on, there is a youngster.
He was trying to mate with the youngster also.
Oh, Andrew tells me he was trying to be amorous with the youngster as well, so I think he's definitely not going to get anywhere here. But now let us leave the wonderful giraffes and try and find those dwarf mongoose. It is cold, which means they probably might not even be out of bed yet. Hello, little Gerald. So a quick loop around the quarantine clearings before heading back towards Karula. Or maybe we should let James go have a look at Karula. I spotted out on the quarantine clearings. It is not a member of the order Carnivora, rather a member of the order Primate. Where is it now? It's moving. There might be some more in the trees. Do you see him?
Yeah, it's behind the termite mound.
Behind the termite mound, Andrew still has a visual. Which termite mound? This one. He's hiding. Curiosity might get the better of him, might pop his head out, and you can just see that face pop around the corner. There we go. Vervet monkeys always look like they're guilty. He's on the right now. It's like he's just done something wrong or about to do something wrong. Yes. Guilt. He's got a guilty conscience. Running away. So we're going to continue to search for the dwarf mongoose or any other member of the order Carnivora. But while we do that, let's go to James, who's with a little antelope.
Right, so quite surprisingly, we have a duiker here, and just seems to have adopted a very odd position where it's either in some kind of religious pose or is thinking about lying down but isn't sure if we've seen him or not. This is the common duiker, sometimes known as the grey duiker. And the reason they're known as grey is that the further towards the Cape you get, the greyer they are. And if he was convinced that we could see him, there's no question that he would not be hanging around where he is. They're very, very secretive. So it's always nice to be able to get a good view like this of them. One of the smallest antelope that we get here. Now, apparently they can weigh up to about 25 kilograms. In pounds, that's about 55 pounds. But normally, sort of up to 17 kilos or so. And interestingly, the females are slightly larger than the males. Decided to stand up now. So Sammy in Texas, and while we're looking at this duiker, I'm going to ask Tibbs to try and bang the super zoom into the gland underneath the eye. I don't know if you can see there, Tibbs. Sammy, you want to know what my favorite part of being in the bush is? Sammy, my favorite part of being in the bush, and the reason that I live in a place like this is not, the elephants are wonderful and the lions are incredible and the leopards are brilliant and the wild dogs are even more amazing than all the rest. The birds are astonishing and the antelope fill me with a great sense of joy. But the sense of connection, there's a kind of connection with wilderness that you get in a place like this, and that's what I kind of yearn for when I'm out here. So whether I'm at the sea or I'm in the bush or in the mountains, that's the kind of thing that I'm after. And that's why I live in a place like this, because I can feel that constant sense of connection, and that gives me a great sense of peace. So that's my favorite part of being in the bush. Now you can see that gland underneath the eye, that's called the preorbital gland. And that preorbital gland, orbit being the eye, pre being in front of, preorbital gland is used for marking territory, and we so seldom see them in that kind of detail. And you can see there it's been extensively used, and that in much the same way as the hyena's anal gland was used to mark bits of grass and twigs, so will that preorbital gland be used to mark bits of bark and twigs. And while this duiker is unquestionably solitary, you will find that there will be a female around here somewhere with whom he is in regular communication, and that preorbital gland will help to mark bushes and, you know, they'll let each other know where they are using that gland. Isn't it great? You can see the little horns there. Very formidable little defensive weapons. Sorry, excuse me 1 second. You're on the wrong radio. And they will spend their, oh, look at him now. They will spend their days eating concentrated foods, normally browsing, because the nutrients in leaves are often more concentrated than those in grass. And also, they will chew on bones every so often. Now, unfortunately, great distress has now fallen across my hitherto peaceful mood today. Brent Smith has found a dwarf mongoose. Let's go and see.
So there we go, carnivore number 3, and the smallest member of the carnivore order, the dwarf mongoose. I was actually quite worried we weren't going to see dwarf mongoose. It is still very chilly. And what are you doing, Andrew?
I was hoping you'd say windy.
Chilly and windy, sorry. Andrew was confusing me there for a second. So these guys are very late risers. They don't like to move around when it's cold and windy, because it's, here we go, Andrew, I said windy.
Thank you.
Because they're at a greater risk to other predators. Oh, you can see how nervous they are. Do you hear that little, and then a bunch of them disappeared down the hole again. This one is still watching us. But there we go. Incredible little animals. So they only like to get going when it's much warmer. So if the sun does come out, you'll find them basking in the morning light, enjoying the sun, and quite an important time for dwarf mongoose in terms of their social structure. It's where a lot of the grooming and bonds between the business are reaffirmed and connected. So I've got an idea to let poor James off, since it is the festive season, give him an opportunity to come back from what is now almost an insurmountable challenge.
It's a whitewash.
It's a whitewash. There we go. As Andrew says, it's a whitewash. Because actually thinking about it, Andrew and I were just discussing, it is such a difficult thing to get, I mean, of the 22 possible species of in the order Carnivora that occur on Djuma and Arathusa. So I recommend that we cancel James's rule that you cannot double up, but also I recommend that we extend this all the way through to the 31st of January. On the Sunset Safari will be the last day of the Carnivore Challenge. So we can see how many between the two of us, and obviously the competition between the two of us, but also for you guys, how many of the 22 possible species in the order Carnivora we are able to find over the next few days. So I think we'll keep it to while it's just James and myself here. So we'll extend it through to the 31st, the Sunset Safari on the 31st, the end of the year, the end of the Carnivore Challenge, and we'll have to think of something new to do in the new year. Anyway, let's go and see if we can catch up with that. The Queen of Djuma, Karula. We just hit on the radio, see if anyone else is there. Are there any stations with Karula? I would like to join you if possible. Copy, thanks. No, I'm coming from quarantine. I haven't heard anything yet this morning, Craig. Just giraffe.
Yeah, I'm going to be leaving in the next few minutes, so if you're not hopefully it'll be an open run just before the cruise.
Copy, thanks. There's a nice little group of Karula meet on quarantine if you're interested. Okay, so let's go spend some time with the Queen. It sounds like she might have alighted from the ground and is up in the bowels of that low-fault milkberry. So while we head on to Karula, let's go across to James, see what he thinks about the carnivore challenge being extended and opened up a little bit.
There is a batelier, my favorite raptor, out here. Just look at him floating in the air there, that incredible number of little adjustments he's making to stay in the air, wobbling because the tail is so short. And he's going to fly into the sun and become invisible very shortly. And just turning into the wind there, or to turn with the wind. I'm now totally blinded. Can you still see him, Tibbs?
Okay.
And just watch the way he wobbles. That wobbling, of course, a function of the short tail that he's got. And that the little adjustments he's making to stay in the sky there. Just changing the odd feather here and there, shifting weight here and there. Quite astonishing that that little brain is able to do that. And certainly any aeroplane that is designed in the same way, such as the B-2 bomber, that B-2 bomber, of course, cannot be flown apparently manually, completely. It must have computers to help it make those little waves like that. We're going to head across to Jumapan now at 100 miles an hour. Well, Rusty doesn't do 100 miles an hour, so maybe sort of 3 miles an hour versus the normal 2. Apparently there's a big herd of buffalo there, so let's head across there. It's interesting, we actually saw some tracks coming in and I thought those might be bulls. Brent Smith seems to think that he is the games master of the world and says that he is extending the competition to the 31st of December and that we can double count mammals. I think that we should reset. You know, it's got to be a new game, I think. You can't kind of change the rules mid-game. So maybe we'll start the game again this afternoon. I'm going to struggle I can barely remember my name in the mornings. How I'm going to remember how many mammals I've seen in the up until the 31st of December is going to be extremely difficult. So just as I was saying about that plane, so the B-2 bomber, of course, was a stealth bomber, which has got almost no tail on it at all. It's so difficult to keep stable that you have to have a computer to help you fly it. And that bird, that's why you see it flying like this with these very, very sort of odd movements, sort of balancing movements, and the incredible detail and refined movements that it's making to stay in the air like that are just beyond me. Here we are at Treehouse Wallow, I suppose you might call it, or Treehouse Well. As Brent, I think, showed you yesterday, the elephants have managed to dig their way all the way to water. You can just quickly see that there before we fly off at great speed towards the Juma Dam. Look at that. Oh, some canaries just flew out of there. Some yellow-fronted canaries, beautiful little birds. Like I say, you don't want to be driving too quickly in this car. Tibbs will be bounced clean out of the back. This is a great question from Debbie in New Jersey, which I believe has been addressed to Brent Smith as well. Debbie, you say that this job looks like it needs a lot of energy, and do we sort of stick to a strict fitness regime and diet in order to stay in fine condition to do this job? Debbie, Brent Smith and I could not have more different ways or approaching sort of general human health. Brent Smith's exercise regime consists of walking to the fridge and back, and sometimes maybe going for a walk. Well, he will, if he's tracking something, he'll walk for miles. But in terms of getting up to do exercise for the sake of exercise, the last time he did that was when he was 4 or 5 years old. He also will eat absolutely anything, has a diet that consists largely of refined sugar and red meat, with maybe one portion of vegetables a week. And interestingly, of course, he does seem to have the constitution of a hyena, so he will probably outlive everyone I've ever met before. I do quite a lot of exercise, try to eat sensibly. Whether that will result in either of us living longer, I don't know. But in terms of the job that we do, physically, it's not demanding at all. You can steer. People often used to ask me, "Oh, can a lady do this job? You know, it looks so physically demanding, driving over bushes like that, and trying to operate this huge Land Rover." No, not really. Look, I mean, you can turn the wheel with one finger. It's not particularly physically demanding at all. The demanding side of a guiding job, and therefore by extension this job, the presenting job, is the people side of it. And for me, guiding became too exhausting. I couldn't do it anymore because it became so emotionally demanding, because you meet 6 people every day, or every 2 days, new 6 people on your Land Rover, and to them, everything is a brand new, magnificent world of discovery, and you're resetting. It becomes like Groundhog Day. I don't know if you've ever seen that film, where you're resetting all the time, and you're getting the same sort of questions again and again, and the same sort of impressions to the bush, and it means that you can't ever you do eventually, if you do it for long enough, you get into a state where you get lots of repeat guests, and then you do get into the kind of depth of the bush. But after a while, that constant resetting, unless you're extremely emotionally attuned to it, which I wasn't, I don't believe, it can become totally exhausting. So that's the tiring side of it. It's not a physically demanding job, and the difference between doing this job that we're doing now, presenting versus guiding, is that there are 1,000 people on the game drive, and sometimes more, often many more, and that's just wonderful, because the depth of questions that we get and the interesting new perspectives on what we're seeing, they constantly change, which is fantastic. It makes it a constant learning experience to take this kind of large-scale guided safari versus the normal guided one. But Debbie, yeah, in terms of physical stuff, it's really not very difficult. Jamie, of course, is a very slight girl. She's she wouldn't be described as buxom in any way or butch, and she does this job exceptionally well. And she's the kind of I loved when I was a guide, and I was a head guide. Having women on the ranging team was always the most wonderful counterbalance to because this job does attract a certain number of the kind of macho man who, the kind of guy who wears an enormous knife on his belt the whole time, and it looks like Excalibur hanging down to his knees, sling his rifle over his shoulder. And having women in the guiding team always kind of dulled that ridiculous macho-ness down. And so, yeah, not physically demanding anymore. It's not a case of having to lug masses of weight around the place. It's a far more intellectual job than it is a physical one. Nice question. Thank you, Debbie. Now Lucy, you're in South Bend in Indiana and you want to know if Tebbs has a seatbelt. No, Tebbs does not have a seatbelt. And the reason for that is that it's actually, in terms of a physical job here, the cameraman's job is physical. They are moving constantly. They've got a bench, and I mean, you've seen when we go past each other what the cameramen sit on, and they are moving all the time. So when the camera's turning, they're coming from side to side. They're holding themselves steady. They can't kind of use their hands to balance, and so their stomach and back muscles are working all the time. So it's a far more physical job than the one I'm doing. Not so, Tebbs. Right, we're not far from the buffalo now. There are a whole lot of wildebeest in front of us. And like I say, their calves are very happy, very lucky that those lions are not around at the moment. Some more giraffe that I think Brent was showing you just off to the left-hand side. And the buffalo will be now just to our right. Hello, little wildies. Keep safe. It's a bit of a smoother road. What?
It's whitish.
A white shell.
Yeah.
Okay. Scott, Tebbs has seen a moving white shell. It's quite fascinating. Let's see. The buffalo we should be able to track and find with relative ease. As Louise says, there are about 400 of them, so we should be able to find. What do you see, Tebbs? How far? Sorry, let's go across to Brent. He's got Karula climbing down a tree. Let's go across there.
Karula's in the tree, and it looks like she might move back towards the kill. Or come down the tree. One of the two. And it looks like she's going to go down the tree now. And she wasn't feeding when we arrived. She was just sleeping in the shade in the tree. Settle her stomach. Move around again. There she is. Isn't she beautiful? Nice fat belly, full of steenbok. There we go, eating grass again. Quite a lot of the predators will chew on some grass to aid in digestion. Oh, look at that face. A well-loved face in these parts and all over the world. Move around in front of it. Karula the queen.
Okay, great, thank you. Do you know if she is in the tree or
Sorry about the virtual reality rig there. There it is, look at that, giving we're attempting something really incredible with this GoPro rig there. It is to film a 360-degree view, and hopefully it'll be a success. Move the car so we don't stare at the cameras. Much rather look at Karula. There she is. So more than likely now you're going to find a nice cool spot on the ground to lie down in. Have a scratch first. Cat in Florida is wondering, do big cats hack up hairballs like domestic cats? They do, except their hairballs are often filled with bone and hoof and horn, as well as obviously the hair. So they're unable to digest all those things. Specifically the hair is made up of a substance called keratin, and only very few insect species are able to digest that. Morning ablutions. Now that feces that she is dropping down there is very smelly and full of lots of different types of parasites. So you never really want to pick up or touch carnivore dung. Or drive over it with your tire, because you will end up smelling it for the whole drive. Now the big cats have a really fast digestive system, and it breaks down those heavy proteins in the meat very quickly in comparison to us. Looks like she might go up the tree again, so I'm just going to try to get into the right spot. There we go, and she's going to jump in a few seconds. There she is. Come on, up you go. There we go. So not going to where the carcass is, she's heading back into the shade. So she's decided it's going to be cooler to sleep in this milkberry, and it looks like she's got herself a nice spot there. She just came down the tree for an ablution stomp. How's that, Andrew? That's good. And back to sleep in the tree. When it is very hot, sometimes leopards do sleep in the tree if it's a little bit cooler, there's more of a breeze. It's not hot this morning. I think the main reason she's gone up the tree is to get away from some of the more irritating, biting insects like those stable flies. There you go. Feet dangling either side of the branch. And as we go up towards her face, now that looks like a very contented leopard to me. Fast asleep. Resting her head on her paw. Now, anyone wondering what that clickety-click is? It's just me taking a few photographs. And guys, also remember, you can take as many screenshots as you like, and as long as you remember to share them with us, and you can do that by putting them on the Safari Live Facebook page, or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Here we go, fast asleep. I think she's got a very good spot there. About the perfect sized branch for her, not too big, not too small. So while she's fast asleep, let's go have a look at James with that big herd of buffalo.
A sea of buffalo heading to the northeast, the same ones that were at the Juma Dam just now having a drink, and they've turned around, they're walking up the path down which they came. I saw their tracks coming across the Buffelshoek boundary this morning and wondered where they'd gone, and now we know where they've gone. And so probably probably about 250 in this herd, I would say, maybe a bit more. And they're being attended by a number of red-billed and yellow-billed oxpeckers, which unfortunately at this stage seem to be hiding from us. I'm going to sneak a little bit forward. They're not that comfortable, and it's quite interesting. As we were driving along here, the wind is blowing from the southeast, and so it's kind of, this road is cutting the wind exactly in half. And the herd, parts of the herd that were on the right-hand side of the road, so in other words, upwind from us, didn't smell anything, and they were very happy. But the ones on the other side of the road did smell us. They were coming in at a different angle, and they started to run a bit. It was almost a little stampede. Anyway, let's try and get in amongst them. We'll follow them through this block for as far as we can. And I really quite enjoy these buffalo. There we go. Bulls and cows, youngsters. All different shapes and sizes, and so many animals, so many, especially the herbivores, tend to look pretty similar. You can't tell individuals from each other, and these ones I find it's so easy to tell them apart. Very different faces, different horn arrangements. We'll just ease in here after them. Let's see if how far they will allow us to follow them. Youngsters here with their horns that haven't curled quite properly. I think this one's going to have a very large set of horns eventually. If it does get too bumpy in here, we will leave them, but for now, let's just drive through here and see. Oh, there's a beautiful yellow-billed oxpecker there, Tibbs. Oh, he's flown off. What an irritating bird. Sitting on that buffalo cow. So 2 species of oxpeckers that we get here. If you are not a regular watcher, you won't know that, maybe. And the oxpeckers are the birds that eat the ticks, of course. ease our way through here so far as we can. There's the yellow-billed oxpecker there. Tibbs, I'm not going to try and get closer, just try and use the big zoom. On the back of that buffalo now walking behind his friend so that it becomes impossible to see the oxpeckers. Can you see them? Now, the yellow-billed, of course, looks like the red-billed, except for the base of the beak is bright yellow. There are also a little flock of wattled starlings flying about here. Well, the only way to catch up with Leo Smith and his carnivore competition is going to be to find possibly a dwarf, not a dwarf, a banded mongoose, or a lion. Neither of which I'm holding out great hope for. Oh, good question, Shell. In Detroit, do you want to know what the white moving shell that Ted saw was? It was a tortoise. And it wasn't so much white as just reflecting white in the sun in a very odd angle, but it was a leopard tortoise. There you can see them spread all over here. Thank you, Miss Lynn. I'm not sure if you're being serious or not, but you say the cameraman should probably wear Velcro pants in order to help them stick to the vehicle. I think if they did that, they move around so much, there would be a constant noise of Velcro detaching from itself. I think it wouldn't be the most pleasant thing in the world. Oh, there's a beautiful wattled starling there on the floor, Tibbs. Can you see it? Look at that beautiful bird. You can see the lovely yellow color on the wattled starling. And Kat, you say you've never seen so many buffalo. Yes, many buffalo indeed. And you say we need to send an email to the Birmingham boys to tell them to come over here and to sup on these buffalo. Yes, I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. Unfortunately, they're heading due north, straight for the Buffelshoek boundary. And I think they're going to cross in there before too long. And that's where they're going to spend the majority of their day. I'm not sure. I think at the northern reaches of Buffelshoek, there's probably better grazing than there is here. And that's probably why they kind of wander through here. They have a bit to eat, but they basically come for the clean water and then head back north. Let me just ease forward. I love getting right in amongst the herd. This herd is not particularly confiding, and I think it's because, they spend quite a lot of time probably in the Manuleti as well, where they don't see a great number of vehicles. Sharp Tibbs. All right, while we're moving in here and trying not to take our heads off, let's head back to Brent, see what Karula's doing, and I'll see you shortly.
She's moved her head slightly. I'm going to try and get us in a better position now, but she's not moving at all, fast asleep. A very happy kitty. And then back a little bit, Andrew. Yeah. There we go. So probably up in the tree to avoid the biting flies. Bless you. Isn't that just sweet? So she should be here for the sunset safari, but she might not. There's not that much meat left. I think I have a clue where she might go after here, or even make a trip to during the day, which is the closest water, which is a tree house waterhole, one where the elephants have excavated. So Siberia, who's one of our Zoomies, is wondering if we still do feces collection of the leopards in the area for trying to figure out the paternal lineage of the cats in this area. And she's wondering if we only do it for the males or the females. We do it for both males and females. And we haven't been collecting any feces because we've collected all the feces of the leopards we see regularly. So we'd have to find a new leopard to collect some more feces. For those of you not sure what Siberia is talking about, there's an organization called Panthera that studies and works on carnivore conservation throughout the world. And they're busy with a leopard paternity study at the moment. Because it's very, very easy to know who mom is, but you never know who dad is, because the female leopards will mate with multiple males. So a very warm Safari Live welcome to Jennifer Turner, who Louise tells me is possibly a new name, so maybe a new viewer or just maybe new to asking questions. A big welcome to you either way, Jennifer Turner. And Jennifer says it's amazing with how loud these vehicles are that we're still able to get so close to all the animals out here in the African bush. Well, game drives have been going on in the Sabi Sand since the 1960s, and these animals have grown up with game drives around them, so they are very used to the vehicles. But also we always make sure we drive very carefully and considerately. Very simple things like don't drive straight at animals, drive away from them, and little things like that, and that enables us to get much closer to the animals. Also, the vehicles, although noisy and smelly, they smell very much like petrol and oil. They don't pose any instinctive, or they don't create any instinctive response in the animals. Vehicles have only been around for about 100 years. If we had to walk, however, it would be a very different scenario. The bipedal figure of man, the upright figure of man, is the dominant diurnal predator. So you always normally, sorry, a bit tongue twisted there. You are normally, it's much easier to get close to an animal from a vehicle than it is on foot. And got tied around my tongue there, sorry about that. I'm back, hopefully more eloquent than I was a few seconds ago. Angie says she loves the way a leopard's tail moves while they're sleeping. It kind of looks like it's watching you. It creeps her out a little bit. Eyes are slightly open. I think she's heard that rattling testicular behind us, and she's just keeping an eye there. It did sound like a little bit like a testicular alarm call, but now it's turned into more calling. So there you go, the eyes closed again. And you can see, even in a tree, how camouflaged a leopard is as Andrew zooms out. Look at that. Disappears into the branch. So as we mentioned on yesterday's Sunset Safari, Karula doesn't have any cubs at the moment, and if she is pregnant, it's in the very early stages, and we're not going to be able to tell. But Kathy in Tennessee was wondering about that, and she'd also like to know if her behavior would be any different, and that's a bit of, oh, bless you, bit of a longer discussion, so we will cover that a little bit later. But in the meantime, oh, bless you. Oof. Got the sneezes. Oh, the head's going down again. Oh, almost looks like she's got hiccups. Ate that Steenbok too fast, madam. There we go, back to sleep. So Kathy, we will discuss that when we're back, but while Karula's catnapping, let's go across to James and the buffalo.
Seem that young Karula has had a bit of a hay fever. What got into her little nose, sensitive little schnoz. And we're still with this herd of buffalo, winding our way up to the north. And they're not being particularly, cooperative, shall we say. Every time we get close, then they turn, the wind blows towards them, they smell our human scent and disappear up into the thick bush. This is deeply irksome. Really nice large herd of buffalo, this, and very good for lions to be eating. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to follow them further than here without making a very large noise indeed. They're very silent at the moment. I think they're just grazing quietly through here. Very good question. Right, we're just going to watch them disappear through here. You're talking about the oxpeckers, and you're saying, what do they do about their nests if they're sitting on the animals all the time? Gail, you'll find that they will fly some distance. This herd won't travel that far. I mean, it will probably go maybe another 2 or 3 kilometers to the north, which isn't very far at all. And for an oxpecker to fly that distance, we will take them probably 15 minutes, if that. So if they are nesting at the time, they can easily make it back to the nest. Remember, Gail, that they're not nesting all the time, though. They're often, most of the time, they actually just need a roosting spot. So they'll just go and find a dead tree close by. They often nest in dead trees or roost in dead trees, and the flock will go and roost there for the night, and then they'll find, before rejoining whatever herd of herbivores they can during the course of the morning, to see, was there something very interesting here. Tibbs, I'm going to ask you to do something quite exceptional. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. Can you see the stick on the ground through the gap here? Can you see it?
The floor.
Yeah. Through the gap there, there's a black bit of it sticking up towards us. Okay, I'm going to come sit next to you and show you what I mean, because otherwise it's going to be impossible for me to show you. People, there's a very, very interesting bird there that's just landed there. And unless I show Tibbs, there's no ways he's going to see it, because unless you saw it land, you wouldn't see it. Right, zoom out. Yeah, you will be able to see it from here. Okay, zoom out again. Is that... Okay, that gap there. Get in between there. No, there. Right, that's it. Up a bit, up a bit, up a bit. Up a bit. There, that piece of stick there that you're looking at. No, can't quite see it. There's a nightjar. There's a nightjar sitting above it. Sorry, just zoom back out again, Tibbs. If we can see this bird, everybody, it'll just be fantastic. There, yeah, stop there. Stop there. Go back in a little bit. Right, do you see that? There. And you see that stick there? Yeah, the one to the left of that. Yeah. There, now go left from there. There's a flipping tree in the way. I'm going to move the tree. The bird is sitting in your screen now, everybody. There, you can see the bird. Can you see it? It's that thing there. You can. The bird is on your screen, everyone. It's so beautifully hidden. It's a nightjar. Now, Tibbs, have you kind of zoomed in on it?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
So there you can see, isn't that amazing? So you can see the eye there of a nightjar, and that's quite a grey one. So I'm going to say probably a square-tailed nightjar. Used to be called a Mozambique nightjar. Isn't that amazing? Now the only reason I saw that bird was that one of the buffalo disturbed it, and it flew up and then went and settled there again. You would never see that. You could almost stand on that bird and not see it. That is just wonderful. I'll try and get another view of the bird, actually, now that we know where it is. Let's see the buffalo going north and see if we can't, we'll go around the side there and see if we can't get another view. So the bird's about 15 meters in front of us, 50 feet. I think we will be able to get a view of it, you know. Yes, I can see it nicely now. You see it there, Tibbs? You see it? Look at this bird. Marla Oppenheim, you say my voice sounds a little bit quieter or lower than usual, and is it a result of some Christmas party we had yesterday? No, I don't think so at all. Yesterday was a very, very sedate evening, so I'm not sure why that is, Marla. Maybe it's a microphone issue. Maybe I'm just feeling a bit pensive, you know, as a result of the Christmas. Thoughtful about life. Right, I'm just going to quickly see if I can properly identify that nightjar. Isn't he beautiful? So let's just quickly have a look. I'm going to quickly show you the ones that we have here, and I'll try and quickly decide before we go back to Karula to close off the show, because she definitely deserves a show closing, being the queen. You know what I think that is? I actually think it's a freckled nightjar. I'm going to have one more look with the binos while you look at it, and then I'll make a call. Very interesting. No, it's not. It's a European. There we we go. It's a European nightjar. Perfect. Okay, let's hit Tibbs. If you just want to quickly hop across here. That's the bird there. It's a European nightjar, common summer visitor, doesn't call a great deal while it's here, and goes off to Europe to breed during the winter time. So that's the European nightjar just over there. All right, everybody, that's it from Tibbs and I for the day. I hope that not all of you thought my voice was low. I shall speak with a slightly higher pitched voice to say goodbye to you. Thank you, Tibbs, for your efforts this morning. Thank you to Louise, flying solo as she is in the final control. And we're going to hand you back to the inimitable Brent Leo Smith with his friend Drone Commander Andrew Francis and the Queen of Djuma to say goodbye. I will see you later this afternoon at 4 o'clock with some tea, some scones, and some more magnificent African wildlife. Bye-bye, and see you then.
So as you can see, the Queen of Djuma, Karula, has not moved an inch. And well done to James for finding a European nightjar. I'm sure that's a big tick for all the birders out there who are keeping their lists. So I think one of our big birders is now on 151 species. I don't think that's been recorded on the live drives before. Very interesting bird that is silent while it's in Africa. So it doesn't call, and that's normally the best way to identify nightjars. So well done, James. Oh, and itchy face. And it's amazing, we do get some incredibly wonderful close-ups of these leopards, and from this sort of distance they look so wonderful and clean. But if you look carefully, there are so many ticks and other ectoparasites on them. And when you see her scratching like that, she's probably trying to remove some of them. And quite often we notice little sort of notches, blood splotches on her after she's been preening, and that's from biting and popping ticks that were already full of blood. Is she using that vine as a... Oh no, sorry, it's in front of her. It almost looked like she was using it as a pillow. But so, growing out of this... Oh, and she's on the move a little bit. Trying to find a more comfortable spot. And of course now we can't see anything apart from her backside. So let's move a little bit further forward. If we can get another view of her beautiful visage. Olmsted Falls would like to know what Santa or Father Christmas brought for me. Well, Steph Santa got me a bright orange pair of suspenders. I'm not sure why, and I wore them yesterday, but I'm definitely not wearing them today. They were also about 3 sizes too small. They were made for someone of James's height, not mine. But I played the part and wore them yesterday. There we go. Hopefully Karula will still be here for the sunset safari. She is very full. There's probably only about 25% of the carcass left. So it looks like she had a very festive feast last night. And if she does move from here today, the most likely is she's going to go for a drink at the Treehouse Waterhole. And Sherry, lastly, what Santa also gave me for Christmas yesterday, and also thanks to Tebs, was 2 leopards on Christmas Day, Karula and Shadow. But it's nearly the end of the Sunrise Safari. Been great having you all with us. And don't forget, we're going to be here for the Sunset Safari, and we'll be continuing with the Carnivora Challenge between James and myself that'll be running through to the 31st of December, the last day. For the last few seconds, let's have a look at Karula, and we'll see you later.